Every 2 years, we end up in a very similar place. I think many people in this chamber and our, brothers and sisters upstairs work to develop a budget that they think will meet the needs of the state of Connecticut. And unfortunately, I think one common thread has occurred, at least for many of the years that I've been here, and that is that we've failed to keep the promise that I think those that came before us made with the taxpayers of the state of Connecticut. I don't know anybody that was happy about the introduction of the income tax, but as I recall, not having served in the legislature back then, this chamber and the chamber upstairs committed to the taxpayers that we would live within a certain series of guidelines they called the spending cap. Every time we change the spending cap, Mr. Speaker, every time we make a decision between ourselves, we forget that that decision really was between this chamber and the public. It wasn't between each other. It was about the people that elected us. I was having a conversation with my wife the other day, shortly after the tax package came out. She works for a small clothier in Bantam. And we were talking about the change just in the clothing exemption on the tax-free week that happens, I believe, in August. And she was telling me how much boots cost. And I was trying to imagine what the implications might be for the average person when you take the number from $300 and make it $100. And she explained to me that there are a number of times over the course of the year that hardworking young men and women that work for many of the people in my district will walk into that store with their hard-earned dollars on tax-free week, because it's a week when they don't have to pay taxes on a Carhartt coat that could very well be over $100. Pair of insulated jeans, and certainly a pair of boots. And so, Mr. Speaker, the result of us not keeping the promise is that we end up in this jam every single time we do a budget. We're balancing the promises we haven't kept with a change in tax policy. And in this case, we've managed to hit the upper level and I think the bottom tier. And probably what's most troubling of all is that back in October, the governor of this state, and if I understand Representative Fry correctly, at least 17 times since then promised not to raise taxes. 17 times he told the public, I will not support a tax increase. I can't imagine how that morning must be when you look in the mirror and you realize that you're looking at this tax package and you have no choice but to veto it or sign it. Mr. Speaker, one of these days we have to keep our word. And I would suggest to the governor of this state that the time to start doing that is now. There are enough votes in this chamber to sustain his veto. He made a promise. He should resist signing this budget. We should come back in July for veto session, and we should all get together and try and do a better job for the state of Connecticut. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.